Welcome to another installment of the Tim Woolley Show, starring our mayor, Tim Woolley. How you doing, Tim?
Carl, I'm doing good, buddy.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, we're here in August.
Yep.
And we had a double whammy last night with the council meeting, didn't we? We had a short council meeting, which doesn't happen very often, and we got the Lang Park deal with the Wayne County passed.
Yeah, we're really excited about that. That was something that evolved basically as soon as I got in office. We kind of went to the county and said, hey, we want to change something, and we want to redo Lang Park, so to speak. And Guido and his team really worked hard. We all sat in a room a few times and came up with a concept. Got the go-ahead from Wayne County, hey, is it okay if we switch this now? But they're like, you only got so much time, so hurry up. Right. We did it. They loved it. Put in for the ARPA dollars. Right. And so yesterday, a few days, probably about a week ago, we got notice, hey, we're going to match, which is good. We got a 50% match. Right. Of course, I would have loved more, but I'm very happy with what we got. We're making a $4.6 million investment into the old Lang Park, and it's going to be like an activity park, different from a lot of our other parks. We're looking at putting a pump track, BMX, mountain bike track in there, a skate park, walking paths, disc golf, kick golf, I think they call it. It's a soccer ball basically and stuff. We're putting docks in for fishing. It's basically like it's an alternative park to where, not everybody plays football, baseball, basketball. This is an opportunity for other kids to go and do things. And with the partnership with Wayne County, really appreciate the county executive, Warren Evans, helping, and his staff and team have been good to work with. We just had to, fix a few things in the contract, but we got that dealt with on, was it Tuesday evening, and luckily council passed it last night. So
the good thing was, I mean, the kind of the final red line product went before them, literally right before the meeting.
It was,
and you still got a 7-0.
Yeah, I was pretty happy about that. I did reach out to the chairman and said, hey, we know it's last minute. The county did ask us to take it to the very next council meeting. Right. And I said, well, I can't guarantee it's going to be voted on. Right. But we were able to work out some issues. The one biggest thing is they used an exhibit of all the lists that we wanted to do there. But with inflation and everything, $4.6 million ain't what it was 6 months ago.
Right, exactly.
So we just wanted to be able to say, listen, we guarantee we'll invest the $2.3 million along with you, but we can't guarantee that we can do all this stuff now, because now it might be over $3 million on our behalf. So we had to definitely put that in there to protect us a little bit.
We've been talking about that for a while, that whole project, and whether you want to call it extreme sports, different kind of activities, kind of the outside the envelope. Those are all attractive. But a couple things that caught me that I think Taylor residents are really going to appreciate are they talked about a sledding hill, which. Other than Boardman Park, which is not exactly the tallest spot.
You climb it a couple times.
Well, that's
when my kids were young. That's in my neighborhood,
I hear you.
And I would maybe do it once or twice, and after that, I'd stay at the bottom of the hill. And
then Guido talked about flooding an area where you get
ice skating.
outside ice skating. I think people love that type of activity.
I mean, it's something we're definitely going to try, and these are all ideas that we want to do, and depending on what costs are now, we may have to eliminate. Our goal is to do 100% of the things that we want to do on there. We may even do some partnerships with outside, but we have to be cautious because we may use some CDBG money if possible, but we're looking at doing what they call, I think, a confidence course now, where it's got the zip lining and the walking across, but you're hitched on, and we would bring in an outside vendor. There would be a cost to that, but the park itself will be 100% free. We're going to put pavilions up to where people want to have parties there, and the other thing, like Guido had talked about, Guido Hewlin, our parks director. We're going to have a very good security system installed, which we're doing in all of our parks right now. And it has definitely helped.
Big help, because this is a big city.
And this will be a direct feed to our police department to where they can monitor what's going on there after hours.
You must be reading my script, because you just segued into
police.
Well,
we kind of wing it, so if
I hear you. Well, let's talk police. Police department. critical manpower shortages across in America, the entire law enforcement world these days. Taylor Police were down to mid-60s, 66, 65, whatever it was, officers thanks to retirement, career moves, all kind of things like that. City has aggressively attacked the problem. You've been at the forefront of this with new agreements, new funding, new program, new offerings. What do you see?
Well, I'm really happy. I'm really happy with how it's going. I believe the last I heard we had 50 applicants,
which is amazing.
The laterals that we, it took some work, believe me, some negotiation, because anytime you change something in the midst of a contract, you have to negotiate. But luckily we came to an agreement. Council approved, but we made it very. Quite a few incentives to get people to want to come here.
Right.
And we're seeing that, which is great. We were losing officers to other departments because it's a feeding frenzy right now.
Sure.
Literally, every municipality is doing what they can to try to entice somebody, and it's constantly changing. The good thing is I think, Taylor has a good reputation. There's always, issues here and there, but, it definitely, we're seeing from all over different departments, people want to come here.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, we're very excited about it, and I believe, I just got a thing today I read, I think we have 35 interviews scheduled. So we're definitely, and it's nice because they're, some have just kind of started, but we're getting seasoned officers. That's what's great about the lateral process,
exactly.
and so we made it basically for people to want to, sometimes people get stuck and, well, if I leave, I got to start all over again. Right. This allows somebody to come over and not lose money.
Right.
So they're going to come over at a rate of pay that's comparable where they're at in theirs. Now their seniority ain't going to carry over.
Right.
But their pay is going to carry over. And then there's incentives there to move up, and it's really done well. And
I noticed
we're really excited about it, and hopefully here in the next couple months, we should be right back up. Hopefully we should be full what we're budgeted for.
Which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
When you look at those kind of things, I noticed that they upped the bottom salary to like 51, which is certainly representative.
Yeah.
Okay. The laterals, 5-year lateral, you get a little over 70 grand. It's not bad.
Yeah, you're coming in. We have two, like at a 5-year, you can come in as a corporal or a they have to test here to be a corporal, but then we also have a non-corporal rate too after 5 years. So we definitely, me, Dan Bazura and the patrol union really, sat in the room quite a few times, didn't agree on everything, but I think we came down to a good, fair, honest agreement, and both parties, I think, were, happy.
Well, you're more than a half year in, and as an old Teamster, does it? You getting used to that other side of the table?
It's a little different. I mean, the good thing is I had the perspective from both sides.
Right.
I used to sit on some negotiating committees with the Teamsters, and so it is. Sometimes it's a little. It is kind of different being on the other side a little bit, but I think it's beneficial that I have been because I see things. I just want a fair deal. I was always that way as a Teamster, and I think that's the goal, and that's how I will continue to negotiate. As the mayor, I'm a lot more involved in negotiations. Like we have,
absolutely.
We have two negotiations going on with TGM and Police Command. So I'm in the room every single time unless I can't be there.
Well, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many people have shared this with you, Tim, but I know, listening to the hubbub behind the scenes and the undercurrent, a lot of union members in Taylor appreciate you being there. Okay,
I hope so.
Because you were on the other side.
Right.
They're starting to recognize that, hey, this guy sees both sides a little bit better, and nobody's perfect, and it
doesn't mean we're going to agree.
Exactly.
Absolutely,
Exactly.
And the thing is what I used to always say, even when I was with the Teamsters, if both parties can walk out of there going, I might not like everything, but I can live with that. That's a successful negotiation, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to see them reaping the benefits. I know I was talking to Commander Levedini, and I know he's been on the forefront of a lot of the recruiting, and he was sharing with me when we were swearing in two officers that how positive the conversations were, how much the applicants enjoyed listening to what he had to say, and he was trying to give them a little different feel for Taylor Police.
Well, yeah, we want to, we want to give people incentives to want to come here, and we're seeing that, and it was kind of funny because we swore in 2 officers, Ruby and Joe, I think, actually, Joe, his dad, me and him played Little League Baseball together. Because when I walked in, I kind of looked and I'm like, I know you, So it's kind of cool to see that.
Right, exactly, exactly.
And I guess he was the son who we just swore in was Officer of the Year in Detroit.
Fantastic.
So yeah, and then Ruby is a great officer as well. She brings in, she speaks multiple languages, and so it's nice.
Well, it's great to see.
Yeah, we're trying to diversify our
and I think
force as well.
Hey, residents appreciate this.
Well, it was the Carl, when I knocked a lot of doors, that was the number one. People want to feel safe in the city of Taylor, and I do too.
Right, exactly. Well, speaking of reaping the benefits, couple really, really popular business moves have happened over the last couple months. One is Chick-fil-A comes to town, and you've got a pretty good story about the developers walking in one day.
That was a huge surprise, and I always check my schedule for I remember Kimber coming in and saying, the owners, the new owners of Little Daddy's wants to meet with you, and I said, okay, and I want to meet new business owners and welcome them to the city. So I checked, that was about a month prior to, and then I looked at my schedule the next day, and I said, oh, okay, I'm meeting with them, and I'm like, well, I'm probably getting nothing against Coney Island. I like Coney Island, don't get me wrong, but I'm thinking, well, we're getting another Coney Island. I would like to see, people want to see a nicer restaurant, and stuff like that. I would like to see that too, but I can't force them to come, So when we walked in there, when we walked into the meeting, I just said, so, I take it you guys are going to open another Coney and stuff, and hey, that's great. That's what was there, and stuff. And the gentleman looked at me and he said, well, Mayor, I don't think you understand. We represent Chick-fil-A, and we want. And at that time, I kind of started to chuckle. I said, well, this meeting is totally going a different way than I anticipated. So I immediately said, hey, and I called down to planning and got Laura in the room, and Dan was, and it was just, it was a very good, positive meeting, and I was very happily surprised at the way it was going. And so, we wanted to wait. We had met a couple of months probably prior to announcing, but I'm not going to announce things until plans are submitted.
Right.
And once they submitted the plans, that's when we made it.
It's always a smart way to go because
things change.
Oh,
and sometimes, and if you throw it out there and they decide, hey, we're going to go somewhere else, or we're going to do, then it just doesn't.
It doesn't look good. Right. That's for sure. You're pretty close to just common people out there constantly because you're all over the place. What kind of feedback are you getting on Chick-fil-A?
Oh, I'm getting really good feedback. My wife's best friend, she used to drive to Toledo, and when I was in the Army, I used to, one of the guys was in my section, his wife worked at the Chick-fil-A in the mall, so we would go there for lunch quite often. But, a lot of people are really happy, and, and some people, it's another fast food chain and all. You know what, it's just, I'm happy they want to come here. Right. And a lot of people like it. Right. But their design and how they run things is so impressive. I think their plans can hold up to 54 cars in the drive-through at one time. It's unbelievable. And given that they're on that outskirts of Southland Mall, that really, between the Eureka access and the mall backing, you've got a pretty nice spot there. Well, that was one of the concerns. So the access the only access into the restaurant will be off that road going into the mall. Gotcha. They will not be able to access it off of Eureka because we didn't want backups. Right. Because we know, especially when they first opened. You don't need that. So any backup would go into that mall parking lot. Right. Right, which is good. So it is the perfect place given the traffic. Oh, I think it's a phenomenal place. Great idea on their part. Now, business, but change. Okay, a little bit of a switcheroo here. You have the Ashley Capital Development with Metro 94 Commerce Park going into the 94 Inkster Beverly area there. That is really, what do you think, a game changer? I think so. I think it's definitely, you have a vacant area, what was one time a landfill. Right. I grew up playing back there. Exactly. So, it's in my old neighborhood. And so, I mean, a lot of the residents were a little concerned at first, and I think the more discussions that happened, but I think it's going to be a pretty big. I think it's going to bring a lot of jobs. You know, and that area kind of needs a little sprucing up, in my opinion. So I'm glad that Ashley Capital got that property, because you know, that they have a proven track record, you know, as opposed to somebody that, you know, you never know what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, their facilities are very well maintained, and I thought they worked really well with moving it back further, lowering, you know, the height and stuff. So, you know, luckily that everything's gone through with that, and I think they start building, you know, I think they're still probably waiting on a few more permits. Eagle is there all the time. They can't do anything over there, but they've done it so many times on other landfills, and it's kind of their niche a little bit, you know, to where they're very good at that, because they've been down that road many times. So I think they even target those properties now, and so I'm pretty excited to see how it goes.
Well, they had 4 examples. I know the Hazel Park one comes back to my mind.
There's one off of
and
75,
Liberty Park,
Brownstown.
you know, that kind of thing, where, you know, they're taking a property that a lot of people don't want to touch. And they're, through the right things, through brownfield grants and things, they're doing it the right way, and hopefully we get better. You know, not just jobs, not just a good, you know, good businesses, but better. Okay,
I agree.
Period, and that's a tremendous thing. You know, you mentioned the communication. I think you saw more. You caught it right away that it seemed like a maybe lack of communication in the beginning of that project.
I would say 100%.
Really kind of skewed the whole thing.
Like I said, Carl, that's my old neighborhood. So a lot of the neighbors were reaching out to me, and the fact that there wasn't much communication, and then the rumor mill started. You know, and there was a lot of misinformation. So, you know, they had a few town halls, they got everything, and then just through council meetings and stuff. You know, some people still don't want it, and I understand that. You know, change is sometimes scary. You don't know what's going to happen. You know, when I was a kid, it was all woods. It was pretty cool looking, in my opinion. I thought it would have been, but you know, now it's just barren. You know, and they park Ford trucks out there now. You know, and stuff. So. You know, I think with the berm they're going to put up, and that's going to be maintained. They're putting in a sidewalk on that side of the street. You know, Hoover is down the road from it. So. I think it's the right fit. I really do, and I hope I'm right. You know?
Well, hey,
I think they're going to be a good partner.
Exactly. Greg Bazura, Junior World Series coming up very shortly. We just did some shows on it here that we'll be producing. Greg's retiring as the founder, creator, director of the Junior League World Series after 40 long years. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I really have a good relationship with Mr. Bazura, especially over the, you know, now that I've gotten to know Dan over the years and stuff. I really like Greg. He's got that dry sense of humor, kind of a quiet guy. I knew Greg, you know, my family was a host family back the first year, 81, 82, you know, all that. And we would have kids from all over the country stay with us that week during August, you know. And it was kind of cool. It was unbelievable. And actually ran into one at the World Series that he came back 30 years later. And, you know, that's kind of a longer story. But I even asked Dan, you know, and we remembered each other. He actually stayed with the Burlesons, who was in my neighborhood, but kind of everybody congregated at my house. So it was always a great time. I loved it as a kid, because when they first started, I was younger, and then I got, you know, around the same age and older. So they did that for quite a few years. And but Mr. Bazura is a great guy. I commend him for the 40 years that he's done. It's always been a very, very well-run tournament. It definitely puts focus on Taylor here for, you know, a good week. Now it's even being broadcasted on ESPN. And, you know, I'm sad to see Greg go. But I think the World Series is in great hands, because now Dan, his son, Bazura, is going to be the director. So, you know, I think Greg was saying, you know, it's kind of my time to let him, you know, and stuff. And, you know, it's definitely got, you know, when we're done here, Danny's running over there, so he's a
busy guy.
Busy time right now for him, and he's handling it. So,
well, yesterday he was sitting back behind one of our cameras here in this studio, listening to his dad and Sam Piso. And at the end, you know, I asked Greg. I said, "Well, this does mean that Dan's got this for 40 years, right?
Yeah.
And those guys laughed, and he kind of harumphed back there, you know.
But I think it's in good hands, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's you know, coming back after a 2-year hiatus. It's things have changed a little bit, which makes it a little more challenging for Dan right now. You know, some people over those 2 years ain't around anymore, or you know, certain things. So if anybody's interested in being a volunteer for the Junior League World Series, I know Dan would greatly. He needs to start recruiting some more volunteers.
Hey, if anybody out there is listening and hears this and is interested, all they got to do is give a ring to the mayor's office at City Hall, and I'm sure Dan would listen.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, that's for sure. Question: You ready to throw out the first pitch? I mean, you know,
I
that shoulder work.
I probably could still do it. I threw one out. When was it? Not too long ago, and I threw a pretty good shot down there. You know, I mean, my arm will probably hurt a little after, you know, but I got to loosen up a little bit. But I don't throw as much as I used to now that my kids are out of Little League. You know,
I hear you. I hear you.
But yeah, I can still throw. This shoulder's the problem.
Okay,
not this one,
all righty.
so.
I hear you. I hear you. We've had some really popular events come through again this summer. Okay, give me your impressions. Taylor Summer Festival.
Awesome.
Well,
I mean, that's the only way. It was it was really different because it was my first one as mayor, and I didn't know what to expect. So I was excited about the bands, you know, being.
Sure.
I was nervous constantly though, and I was more involved than I anticipated. So, but not that it bothered me, but I was just. I always had that nervous fear in me that something wrong was going to happen.
Gotcha.
And unbelievably, none of that ever happened. Right. I mean, the entire weekend, the numbers of people were there. The bands were great. Both nights, the rock and the country night. Both days we had some heat-related issues because it was pretty warm, but nobody was serious. You know, it was a matter of you know, just getting some water on them, cooling them down. We had the young girl on a Saturday night, but she was there at noon so she could get front row seats, and it was really nice that Dylan Scott invited. I told him, you know, backstage about the situation. He's like, "Hey, bring her and her family back. I'd like to meet her." And stuff.
That was
so,
cute. That was
and
cute.
I thought that was really cool on his part. You know, they sat back there and played cornhole next to their bus pretty much the whole day, and it was really cool. They were really down-to-earth guys, and so was both Slaughter and Stephen Piercy. I was literally having a great conversation with Stephen Piercy, and I'm like, this is somebody I saw as a 12, 14-year-old kid, and it was, you know, there was a couple times I was, you know, a kid in a candy store, so to speak.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. And you know, the thing is, it's funny because you will run into a guy here and there who is totally uncooperative or who doesn't want to. But for the most part, 90% of these people are just basically great people.
Yeah, and then, you know, I was talking to members of Slaughter, Dana Strum, you know, just talking about some stories when I went to concerts and saw some, you know, and they were just dying laughing about it.
They were having a good time with you.
And Dana called Mark Slaughter over, hey, tell him this story, you know, and stuff. And I have to say, probably the pinnacle of the night was when Stephen Piercy said, hey, Taylor, your mayor's pretty cool. Yeah, that definitely made me smile, you know.
Oh, my goodness.
You know me, I'm not all about accolades at all, but I thought, I'm like, man, I wish I would have videoed that.
Okay, from the summer festival, Telegraph Cruise. Just had it again this year.
Yep.
Cruise can be tremendous and can be maddening in the course of an hour.
Yeah.
What did you think?
It's kind of a mixed bag, you know. You know, I know people that are dead against it. I don't mind it. I really don't. I live right off of Telegraph Road. 4 houses down from me is a very popular spot, but it seems to becoming a Taylor thing, you know, to where it used to be the Telegraph Cruise. It seems like the only part of the cruise is in Taylor now. And not that that's a bad thing, but the problem is everybody wants to drive in the cruise, whether they're in a classic vehicle or not, motorcycle. But the one thing I saw this year was just, it needs to calm down a little bit. I mean, you know, luckily we did have a good police presence, but you know, I walked down in the street and, you know, I like to see the old classic cars. Jim Swain from our motor vehicle department picked me up in a 1968 Fury, I think it was called.
Fury,
I mean, big old boat, but it was awesome. We took a couple laps and stuff, and I really appreciated that. But, you know, we had some instances where people were throwing beer bottles at police cars, and, you know, we can't have that. And it just... we need to maybe bring it down a little bit, and so next year we might people might see a little bigger presence of law enforcement out there, because it almost seems like people think it's a weekend to just do whatever they want.
Right.
Like literally, when me and my wife walked down to the corner of Telegraph and Champaign, almost got hit by a mini bike in a parking lot.
See, that's ridiculous.
You know, the mini bikes, the four-wheelers, everything. It's just, you can't do that.
Right.
You know, there's quite a bit of drinking out there. You know, I don't, as long as it, I think it. I'm not going to tell the police how to do their job.
Sure.
You know, the law is the law.
Sure.
But when people are throwing beer bottles, I understand there was a fight down in the Home Depot area, but that was, from what I understand, brought on by a group that tends to frequent City Hall with the video cameras and all, you know.
Alrighty.
So,
Okay.
but everybody needs to kick it down a little bit.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so, you know, I think it's a good thing, but it's just kind of getting a little too out of control, I guess, so to speak.
It's funny. You know, it seems to be a common problem in America these days. Everybody's got to be confrontational.
You know,
about
well, the
everything.
thing is I mean, I support my police, my
Yeah,
military, 100%.
right.
You know, and you know, there's always instances where, you know, oh God, you know, but you know, at one point I'm sitting there, me and my wife, and I'm watching people with their little kids flipping off cops as they're driving by, you know, and I'm just like, you know,
Doesn't
I mean,
make a lot
they
of
have the
sense.
right to do that, and luckily our cops don't, you know,
Right.
with different organizations doing things, they know to, you know, not buy into that stuff. But I just sometimes you're amazed by what you see. But the biggest thing is I think it's a good time for everybody. I love to see the people out there in their lawn chairs, and it's kind of become a cool spectator sport, you know, somewhat. But you know, people got to behave a little better, you know, and that's the only thing that we, you know, like, as you know, as I pointed out before, my good friend Al Kennedy got hit and killed by a car in the parking lot down from me by Yum Yum Donuts.
Right.
And literally, as we were walking, there was a big old white cloud because somebody was doing the exact same thing in the parking lot that caused my friend to get killed.
Right.
You know, so it's just, you know, people don't realize, if people want us to allow cars to do the burnouts.
Yeah.
Okay. The people are 10 feet away from them.
Right.
You know, just because there's a little fence barricade thing there, if somebody loses control of that vehicle and they shoot through there, they're taking out a dozen plus people.
Right.
And we don't want that.
Right.
We want people to sit there and enjoy the car, the cars, and for what they do. You know, so you know, that's not tolerated. And I've seen the cops. You know, we had different organizations here, and every time that happened, I usually saw some police car fly in there and get them. You know,
Well, like you say, if we
you
can
can't
just,
do it.
If we can just get people to ratchet down the animosity and maybe just take, hey, you don't know somebody, hey, put a smile on your face.
And most people do, Carl.
It works.
That's the thing. Most people do. Most people are out there to show their cool car and talk to other people about it, and that's what it is, you know. But when you bring the hot rods out there, you can bring the hot rods out there, but it's not a racetrack.
No.
You know, it's not, you know, people are in close quarters, and I don't want anybody to get hurt.
And when people do not, I think a lot of people don't realize that when, you know, and I've photographed the cruise on many occasions. When you walk Telegraph Road, okay, I don't care whether it's the day of the cruise or any day of the year, you look around and man, you gotta keep your eyes peeled.
Oh yeah.
Okay. You know, crossing every side street, everything. I mean, the cars fly by because that's you know, I mean, it's 50, 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And then you throw in, like you're saying, a mini bike. You know, somebody's got golf carts. I mean, this is just kind of you know,
I mean,
you're not
literally,
using
if
your
you don't
head.
have a plated vehicle, you cannot be out there.
Right,
You
and
know,
you shouldn't be out there.
Right.
It's a good way to get offed. Inside, TSX just recently held that national roller hockey event. You got a chance to go out?
Yeah, actually, me and Dan Bazura went over there and checked it out. Sam went with us, and it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe
tons
how
of people.
full, over 400 plus teams
Right.
from all over the world, you know, was at our Taylor Sportsplex for the last 2 weeks.
Right.
And definitely, you know, Darren and his staff knocked it out. They put in many long hours, I think 15, 16 days in a row, you know. So it was a great event. Darren, you know, I met the guy that runs it. He's originally from New York.
Is he?
And he was just ranting and raving about Darren and his staff and the facility.
Right.
And but it brings in a ton of revenue for the city of Taylor.
Sure.
You know, Bubba's and they were packed, and it was really cool. And I can tell you the concessions sales were unbelievable. So, you know, Darren called me many times. He was running to Gordon's or something buying, you know, because we were running out of it. So it was definitely a good couple of weeks.
Well, Darren Grabowski does do a fabulous job.
Does a really good job.
He's one of the unsung guys because he's, you know, in a lot of ways, chief cook and bottle washer at the TSX, and unless you're in there, you don't realize how close he is to these things. He knows his hockey, backside, front side. This,
and Bell Tire loves him.
Oh yeah, and they do a
which is important.
Fantastic job. Last event, Relay for Life. Now in kind of a different machination. It used to be Taylor Relay for Life. Now it's Taylor Downriver. Maybe a little bit smaller than it's been, but you went out there and talked. What were your impressions?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. You know, I think they're trying to get it back. You know, COVID kind of shut it down for I think a couple of years and stuff. So it was a great, beautiful day. You know, they asked me to speak. You know, and so of course I went and done that. You know, I've had many family members battle, you know, that horrible disease, including my mom. You know, and so anything I could do to kind of help out or whatever, and it seemed like it ran pretty smoothly. And I know they're trying to get the numbers back up to where they were and stuff. So everything, especially this year, was a lot of people are firing things back up again, you know. So it's going to take a little time to kind of get things going again.
Well, it's always been a great cause, and hopefully they'll continue to be able to raise money and fight that disease. A couple of events related to veterans, close to your heart.
Yep.
The Wounded America Ride, which is a ride that starts at, what is it?
Motown Harley Davidson.
Yeah, Motown Harley, and goes all the way out to Dundee, is it?
It goes all over.
It goes all over
you know, this year I know they targeted certain cities. You know, Larry Wright and the Rotary and other Rotaries jumped in, and it's a ride to benefit veteran organizations. This year was Foundation 14 and what's the other one there in... It's in Lincoln Park. They give like supplies for veterans. Forgive me for getting it. And but it's a great way to raise funds for veterans. When I was the president of Victory Gym, Larry reached out to me, and they raised quite a bit of money for Victory Gym the year we were one of the recipients. And the cool thing is Mayor McRae from Romulus is a member of Foundation 14, so they were the beneficiary. And what they do is they take combat veterans and put them on Harley Davidsons, you know, preferably, and then they'll customize it to if there's any injury or modification they need for something. And so they raised a lot of money. I think they raised a record year this year. I think it was like $35,000.
Just fantastic.
And Larry kind of created a little competition between me, Mayor Bozzi from Dearborn Heights, Mayor Swift from Riverview, and Mayor McRae from Romulus. We never found out who made the most money or who brought in the most money, but it was a great, friendly competition and stuff. So there was some really cool stories. I know Mayor Bozzi said there was a girl that had a lemonade stand that raised over $500, you know. So it was great, and it seems like we are really gelling well. You know, we those mayors and I have kind of have become friends, and we can bounce things off. Doesn't mean we always agree on everything, but we're soundboards for each other and stuff.
Interests.
So it's kind of nice. And Mayor Bozzi's a Marine, you know, retired Marine, and you know, both Mayor McRae and Mayor Swift are huge veteran supporters, and so it was a nice day, and they raised a lot of money, and it was cool to see all the motorcycles and everything. And so, yeah, that's a great thing that the Rotary throws on.
Well, and then I think literally everybody downriver heard the cannon go off for Running to Honor, which was held in Heritage Park.
Yeah.
You got a big kick out of that.
Oh, I did. It was funny because the story is a couple years ago, when I was on council, the gentleman's name is Cass Bader. He's actually a chiropractor over on Ecorse Road in Taylor. And it was probably the craziest request I ever got. And he says, "Hey, you know, Tim, I'm looking for a place I can fire a cannon." And I'm like, "Well, number one, what are you firing?" You know, and he's like, "No, we're reenactors, you know, for Civil War, and we just want to fire it. It's a blank load, but it's a loud boom and stuff." So we were able to set them up over at the compost site back where the police do their, you know, their shooting and stuff. So that's how I've gotten to know Cass. And so over the last few years, I've gotten to know Aaron, I've known Aaron Bartell for quite a while because he used to raise money with his runs for Victory Gym as well. And threw it out there to him, and he's like, that would be great, but unfortunately with COVID and everything, trying to get the group together was a little tougher for him, for Cass. And so this year we were able to make it happen, and it's a pretty cool boom, and a lot of people really enjoyed that, and I was glad we were able to do it, and Aaron Bartell is a phenomenal individual, and his goal in life is to make sure people don't forget the soldiers that we lost.
A worthy cause.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a great event. It was really shy. He had a really good turnout this year. It looked like there was about 500 people there. I've been a supporter. I've been a sponsor for that since the beginning. He reached out to me when he first wanted to do this, and I said, we need to do this in Taylor. So, Jeff Dobeck was here at the time, got with him, and we figured out a good date so we didn't step on anybody else's toes. And it's been an annual thing, and it's been really good, and it's a great way to honor those. And, Paula Love, who is, the mom of Holly. Yeah. And she was there, and it always breaks my heart, but I'm always so happy to see her because she's a trooper herself.
Yeah, she's a great lady. A few reminders as we go toward the close here, where we stand with Party and Goddard.
I think they're like 95% done.
Yeah, okay.
I think they just got to do the striping a little bit. Like we had the big rain last night. They still have they put a fabric in the drain covers.
Yeah, a lot of people
so
don't realize
the debris doesn't go down there and stuff. So when we have a big rain like that, Party, we had some kind of flooded out spots today. So, I had the water crew kind of go and help those situations out a little bit. But I think they're like 95% done. I think all they really have to do is the striping. I think I saw they are doing the cement, at the corners.
Sure.
For the sidewalks, and they're all ADA compliant and stuff. So they're pretty much done.
And they look good.
Yeah, I'm happy with them. I've been up and down Party quite a bit, and I actually drove Goddard down that way the other day, and I think everything looks good. So definitely.
What about Eureka? Now that whole project,
Eureka,
it's not sideways, but it's slow.
Kind of a to be honest with you, it's somewhat on life support.
Okay.
Because. I got to, I wasn't a fan of the whole idea of it, but, as I said, anything that I came into that was approved by council, I'm fulfilling.
Sure.
And I'm not going to stop or delay anything.
Right.
The biggest problem is we have organizations for some reason just really slowing this down or not wanting to. Eagle has been very tough to deal with. They're the new environmental.
Sure.
And we're trying to, fill it, cover up those drains and everything. And now there's discrepancy of, well, it's a river, not a drain. And, so we're, there's a lot of red tape there that we're continuing to try to get permits for and all this. And it's just, the problem is the more time we spend with this, we're spending money on engineering services and all this other stuff. So basically, we got a couple meetings to coming up, and that will decide. But the problem is this is part of a settlement agreement in a lawsuit.
Right.
So between us and Wayne County, so we will probably have to sit down with them and say, if we can't do this, then what other project can Wayne County do to fulfill their end of the bargain? So it's a really up in the air project right now. I believe they got the signs over there. I don't know. I know they're waiting. People were saying, what's taking so long? They were waiting on those blue bridge type structures.
The actual signs,
and I think they're actually waiting on, there's going to be cables coming off the back to simulate, the 94 Telegraph bridge. And so there's, COVID slowed a lot of things down. And I mean, we bought three, we voted to buy 3 ambulances last night. It's going to take us roughly a year to get them.
Yeah, which is amazing.
And so, it's just, there's so many different products that you'd never think of that are way out.
That are being held up,
that's part of the delay process there. I mean, we're not stopping it or whatever. Again, I'm fulfilling things that I might not have agreed upon when I was on council, but I'm making sure these projects are finishing or moving as planned.
When you look at Eureka Road, the tough part of that is that I think a lot of people see the signage, which has been slow, okay? and then they sit there and, well, what the heck are you doing? You got a big project, you got nothing but signage. Okay, when the reality is, you want to enclose the Frankenpoet drain, which would help in a lot of ways. People fall in the drain.
Just from
throw stuff in the drain.
It'll look better.
It looks.
I do agree with that 100%. Yeah, it's kind of an eyesore in my opinion.
Yeah.
So if we could do that, and we're trying to do that, it's just a matter of.
It's just a matter of getting a permit.
State is definitely. And they're way backed up as well.
Yeah.
A lot of permit places. It's just it's kind of a hard thing, and it's just like we got some streetlight issues along Telegraph. Just so everybody knows,
we're working hard.
We just passed. Tifa did agree. We're actually doing a complete replacement of all the light posts in Taylor along Telegraph Road. The ones that the ones we have now are great, but they're special order, which were approved in the 80s, and I think they look great, but now they make a stock light that looks almost just like it. It's not as ornate, but it's going to be an initial investment to replace all those, but over time it'll save us between roughly $200,000 and $350,000 a year.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, and we don't have to stock them.
Yeah.
So if one gets hit, we call DTE. DTE comes out and replaces it.
Yeah, and people don't realize that when you're up and down Telegraph, those posts get taken out a lot more than you think they
Constantly.
do. And in the old version of those posts, they were almost like tree strand lights.
Well, that's what it is. We had the issue between North Line all the way up to Rosewood.
Yeah.
And they're daisy chained together. So if one, like on the northbound side from North Line to Rosewood, both lanes are out.
Right.
So, we're reaching out to DTE and saying, hey, we're going to replace these, but they need to be fixed now.
Right.
Now, the one thing is there's a lot of businesses. It's not super dark, but we want them replaced. We want them fixed until, people see the gray poles that are out there. Those are temporary poles.
Sure.
So they have to basically come in, remove the lights we have, and then they have to remove the pads. So they're going to drill those down. I couldn't believe how deep those things are, but they drill them down 10 feet and then they fill them back over with soil, and they'll put new pads in for the new lights. And that'll be about a 3-year process. We're doing it over 3 years, so the cost ain't as.
But we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. A couple important reminders for people, for our residents. We wanted to remind them, iCare app has been problematic for us for quite some time now, and it's likely, probably 90%, going to go away. Okay, in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it'll be coming back in a new form,
Correct.
but we got a few Band-Aids in place.
Right, and what we wanted to do was remind them to use the Form Center.
Yes.
And that can be found right on the website. If you click the iCare app button, it'll take you to the explanation of the Form Center. And the Form Center, to cut to the chase, is it's a much less categorized form.
Right.
You're just writing a note.
You just basically about it, hey, my neighbor's grass is too high.
And when you send that, folks, you got a complaint, Priority Waste didn't pick up your garbage or whatever. As soon as you click send, it's going directly to our customer service center. You don't have to wait online, you don't have to wait anything, and they're moving it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, we've been trying to promote that a little more. We are looking to, as we talked about many times, a few months, we had a server go down.
Right.
iCare, tax lookup, what we're going to talk about. There was a few things on there that literally we have to rebuild.
Right.
And that's been the delay. So we're hitting the priorities. We got the Form Center in place of iCare, and the tax lookup is back.
The tax lookup is back.
Different. Yeah. So
it's a different look.
Tax lookup is back, and then Ryan is working with our treasurer Michelle to kind of tweak it a little bit each. So what we can do, but for the most part, people can now go on there and look up their taxes.
And the nice thing that with Ryan, our new IT guy, our new IT director, he's making adjustments to these things on the run, and as soon as he gets feedback, like the property tax look back, one of the first feedbacks were, well, it's not working on all the platforms.
Right. It wasn't working on mobile.
He went right in and corrected that.
Yeah.
So we're making progress on this thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little slower than we like, but then we also have, old systems like an AS400 that he's not super familiar with. So we have to bring in people that are proficient in that to kind of help, bridge that gap somewhat. But we're getting there, you know, and the one thing is when Ryan came in, I told him, you're going to walk in the door and people are going to be glad to see you, but you're going to be looking Mount Everest right in the face because our IT stuff is very, very old and we need an upgrade. And so he's also trying to evaluate our equipment and stuff because with ARPA funds, I want to make an investment into that because, it can speed things along, know, and so that's the goal. And, he's putting out fires all the time, but he's also learning and trying to figure out what we need to work better, and and so he's been doing a great job, and I get a lot of feedback, a lot of positive feedback on him and Brian both. So
now, lastly, want to give a shout out to anybody or any department or anything?
I definitely touched on, I guess if I had to, Darren and TSA crew or TSX crew, Senior Alliance, who I used to but yeah, they worked a ton of hours, 15, 16 hours straight. I sent him an email, Jim Zub over there. They were thanking other people because, Chelsea was sending people over to help with time that might, and so definitely the TSX crew. The parks have been working quite a bit, getting the park ready for the 175th anniversary this Saturday, August 6th from 12 to 5. We got the Junior League World Series coming and a couple events that had been there. And then, Cindy, our clerk, we just had an election on Tuesday.
Absolutely.
They did a phenomenal job. So there's quite a few, but I got to go with TSX crew.
Well, that sounds good.
Right now,
that sounds good. Well, Mayor, we have covered a ton of stuff today, as we usually do. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to get you back here quicker. And that way my list of questions won't be so long.
No, I don't mind.
But it's always a pleasure to have Tim Woolley on. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. For Samantha Rickert and Joseph Camilleri behind the scenes, I'm Carl Zymek. We'll catch you on another episode of The Tim Woolley Show.